Kicking off with the news, someone who doesn't have a book but is getting an 80-page, 100-page, 80-year anniversary super spectacular, which is not, I mean, technically the Joker didn't have a book when he got his either, so I suppose it's not that unusual, but he is a villain, whereas Green Arrow, on the other hand, we typically would expect to have a book, but he hasn't had one since 2019. So maybe this will be a teasing, a future thing, because I think one of the things that stuck out about a lot of those other anthology specials is that usually one of the stories was there to set up where things were going with the character. Maybe there just won't be that in this case, but in June we're getting a 100-page Green Arrow super spectacular for his 80th anniversary with a host of creators, as you'd imagine. I'll read out here what they've said. The oversized anniversary issue follows in the footsteps, combining an all-star lineup of Green Arrow storytelling legends such as Mike Grell, who you'd expect, Jeff Lemire, Phil Hester, Otto Schmidt, Ben Percy, Tom Taylor, Devin Grayson, alongside new Green Arrow contributors Stephanie Phillips, Mariko Tamaki, Ram V, Vita Leia, Nicholas Scott, Chris Mitten, Laura Braga, Max Famura, and Brandon Thomas, as well as some others. Obviously, they mixed the artists and the writers up in there. That was a hodgepodge of names all thrown together. A lot of names that we like in there, though.
Especially Tom Taylor. I haven't seen too many Arrow stuff with him. You know, we've gotten like outside of Deceased.
Yeah, Deceased is the big one because there was a lot of Green Arrow and Black Canary stuff early on. And
yeah, but like as far as playing with those characters, he's been pretty, isolated to certain sections. Like there was no Arrow characters in Suicide Squad, so yeah, it's very exciting, especially as a longtime Green Arrow fan. Like it sucks he hasn't had a book for a while.
Yeah, obviously we got a little tired of these last year because they were sort of throwing them out a bit too frequently, and it was worse. It was worse as well because they all got delayed, and then we got 3 of them in 1 month. I do think this feels a bit more special, A, because we haven't had one in a while, but also because the character in question doesn't have a book, and we feel like he probably should have a book. So I think we're a bit more welcoming of this news, regardless of it being a 100-page book that we need to throw into whatever week it happens to land on. But
I think it comes out the last week, so that might be. Let me check.
A lot of good names.
Yeah.
Green Arrow's first appearance, for those who are curious, was in 1941 in More Fun Comics issue 73. Try and note that down for your trivia, because if you'd asked me where Green Arrow's first appearance was, there was no way I was ever pulling More Fun Comics 73 out my ass.
No.
So that is cool.
But yeah, so I looked and it is the 5th Tuesday, and there's actually 5 Wednesdays there too. So it's probably dropping on that 5th week. Because I think it's the 29th, right?
That's right, yeah. So
June 29th, yeah. So that'll be good.
That's good.
100 pages is fine on a 5th week.
Yeah. A couple of 100-page book and a 60-page book on a 5th week is perfectly fine.
That's like 6 regular books.
Yes. They're doing the variants for each decade like they did with all these other specials. We have the list of artists here for these variants. 40s is Michael Cho, 50s is Daniel Warren Johnson, 60s is Neil Adams, 70s is Derek Chu, 80s is Gary Frank, 90s is Howard Porter, 2000s is Jen Bertel, and the 10, is Simone Di Meo. It's weird that Grell's not doing like the 80s or 90s one.
Yeah, but maybe it's because he was focused on the art. He'll probably be doing an art by written by.
True.
In the special,
yeah.
So maybe that's why he passed it. A Gary Frank 80s like Longbow Hunter era though type of Green Arrow with Canary, you'd assume. It's probably
very possibly. Really I think Jen Bartel's could be interesting. I expect a sort of neon color scheme on top of the green, perhaps.
Less pastel that she's kind of known for. More of the vivid greens, I would assume. But yeah, there's also the Arrow Corner feels reinvigorated right now with how the story in Infinite Frontier went right last week.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's maybe the consolation is they're going to be main characters in Justice League, primarily. So I guess that's where we're going to be looking at them. So at least they're in something, because I think it was true for a while where there was no Green Arrow book, and then Green Arrow just wasn't really in anything either. It wasn't really on any team books, at least on a permanent basis.
Yes, even during the New 52, like there was a book, but it was constantly going through like not rebrandings but reimaginings. You know, they tried to make it close to the show, and then Lemire and Sorrentino came in and did, you know, their whole thing, which is one of my favorite runs of all time. And then, you know, I don't say wallowed, but like after Lemire, it was Ben Percy or blah, 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 Ben Percy, and like it was low key good, but it wasn't doing anything like major. And then Percy, of course, took it over. So it was been pretty consistent. So it's weird, like that we've been so long without it now.
You know, when Ben Percy's over his prime, you can call him Has Been Percy, because he almost said that a second ago. Not that I think he's at that stage, for the record. Obviously, he's not been doing so much DC stuff right now, but the little bit of his Wolverine story that I read, that was quite good. So he's still going strong. So that's Green Arrow 100-page 80th anniversary special coming in June. Next up, something we have been waiting on, and this also includes Green Arrow actually, and this is Leviathan Checkmate. After a full year of waiting, when we first had that solicit, because the solicit, it was for just after when the break would have been. Although when it was solicited, didn't know there was going to be a break, admittedly. But it's finally back on schedule. It's back on the solicits for June, apparently. So there's some
excited for it. I mean, Ennis Malieve doing, you know, seeming like espionage stuff. It's right up the alley. We were talking about Malieve, you know, what's he up to right now? And this a week later answered that.
Yeah, that's just our article mentions that Talia is now a member of the Totality, and maybe that'll conflict with whatever because she was actually in Leviathan originally. Maybe Bendis has reworked that to just make that fit. I don't know, but
didn't know. She kind of helped start Leviathan by accident, right? Didn't they kind of come over and overrun the league, and that's what led her, with her and Lois kind of, you know, clashing in the pages of Leviathan, if I remember right. But yeah, her's a member of the Totality now and all of that stuff. I think I'm excited for this, whatever it means.
Yeah. So neat. Yeah. There's a new variant cover. In fact, I even think the regular cover's new as well, actually. And the main cover is quite pretty. It's a lineup of the team of detectives with a sort of glowing Superman and the shadows behind them, but Lois is chitting on a pawn on a chessboard. So very pretty, very, very pretty.
It's seemingly this might be a Lois Lane book, like in secret, and I'm not mad about that.
Of course you're not mad about that. Why would you be mad about that?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
you know,
so there you go.
Just a figure of speech.
Of course. So next up, we have a new. I assume this is Black Label. It's Black Label. A new Batman book with Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp. A new Bat kind of horror book almost with a new reptilian villain. So I'll read the description here. This is a Batman Reptilic. Sorry, Batman. I was gonna say Reptilican. Batman Reptilian.
Is that a reptile that doesn't know it's a reptile? Is that what that is?
No, I don't know if it's a dumb movie or something, but I didn't make up the word Reptilican. It's from something.
Right, but it sounds like you're saying like replicate and reptilian together. That's the joke I was going for. It's always funnier when you have to explain it.
Sorry. I thought the cover for this is quite nice. It's like the close up of like a lizard's eye with the bat symbol in the eye. So you get a good look at what this thing's going to look like. But here's the description they've put out. Gotham City is filled with murderous creatures who stalk the shadows, foul villains with murderous impulses who strike fear into the hearts of every man, woman, and child in the city. But what strikes fear into the hearts of those who terrorize the city? Reads DC synopsis of Batman Reptilian #1. It used to be Batman, but something far more frightening than a mere man has begun stalking the shadows, and it's after Gotham's villains. How savage must a monster be to haunt the dreams of monsters? And there's a page of art here as well, which looks like a proper cool horror book, honestly. I'm pretty pumped for this. I think this is and I know Connor's not here. Connor would probably like it to be made clear that he thinks Garth Ennis is mediocre, so he's not that excited about this. He's annoyed that Liam Sharp's been saddled with him. I've been reading his TKO book, Sarah, and I've thought that's been solid. I liked what I read of Preacher. I read the first like hardcover of that, so I'm not anti Ennis.
I wouldn't say I'm anti Ennis, but I do think that sometimes Ennis leans on shock value a little bit too hard.
I've heard that about The Boys. I've heard people say The Boys TV show is better than the comic because the show isn't just about the shock value. It's got a lot more heart. But
yeah, and so like just myself, I remember hearing his Punisher run was like legendary, and like that's kind of what he was meant for. This seems more towards that, you know.
Yeah,
and,
I think horror can have a lot of shock value and thrive on it. Potentially. I also like the idea of a lizard monster in the sewers that that isn't Croc. It's kind of a neat idea. But this is full R rated. They're calling it. Not that comics get rated like movies do, but you know what I mean.
Has Ennis ever properly worked on Batman?
I want to say he has. I want to say he's done something Batman-y at some point, but I might just be pulling that out my ass. But it sounds familiar.
Because I know back in the late 90s he had Hitman, who was based in Gotham. But I don't know if he's actually done Batman proper.
I believe, hold on. Something did come up when I googled this. Let's have a look at this. Oh, that's Azzarello. What? Google, why are you showing me an Azzarello book? What are you doing? Yeah. I'm somewhat pumped. I'm just going to use bibliography in Wikipedia. I'll control F and see what we get here.
There you go. But yeah, no, I like, we all know I love monsters. So monsters and Gotham go hand in hand. So a new one, that might be around Croc or whatever, I think that's pretty cool. And if he can work in Slaughter Swamp and all that type of stuff too.
So according to his Wikipedia, the only Batman story he's really done was a 3-issue arc in Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, 91 to 93. It was called Freak Out in 1997. So it wasn't much, and it was a long ass time ago. So
there you go then.
Intrigued. I'm intrigued. No, I like the preview page. It looks different than what I expect from Sharp as well, because the coloring and is very different.
It doesn't seem as intricate like some of his other stuff, like we saw in Green Lantern or in the Brave and the Bold, Wonder Woman story. But it's heavily shadowed, which perfect for something like that.
Yeah, I think this is a case of like him and maybe like the colors and inkers basically realizing this is a different type of book. This should be more horror-esque. This should be this should have a different feel to it. And I actually really appreciate that, because it's sometimes you don't get.
Yeah. And you said this is 6-issue, right?
6-issue miniseries, yeah. So contained story.
Should be good.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay. So moving on. Wonder Woman is getting a color themed book. Like Batman's got black and white, Superman's got red and blue. Wonder Woman now has black and gold as her colors. So so this is obviously coming. This is actually to celebrate our 80th anniversary. So just be glad that we're not getting another 100-page Wonder Woman book like we did for issue 750, because they could have totally done it. They could have said this is our 80th, even though it's only 2 years after the other one. Or has it even been 2 years? Was that early last year? It might have been. Was it like January, February last year? It might have been.
Yeah, it had to have been, because remember it had that story from Snyder.
Yeah.
That teased the JSA. And then we went to break and we didn't know what was going on with that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give them credit for restraining themselves a little bit then by not giving her another one, because they could have.
Yes.
They could have. So this is coming out on June 22nd, limited series, and it's again, much like the other ones, it's all going to be in just the 2 tones, right? Or more accurately, black and white with gold.
So we have Batman black and white, Superman red and blue, and now Wonder Woman black and gold. So makes me wonder if they're saving the red and whatever for Flash. She would assume Flash would be the next one.
Red and gold, I guess. Oh, we also have.
I mean, they already did have
Harley, black and red. Or red and black, whatever way around it was.
I think it was black, white, and red, right? That was like the because it was playing off of her costume.
Ah, it makes sense.
So, yeah.
And obviously, green and black could be Green Lantern. If you wanted to do one of those. It's going to be 6 issues though, and much like the others, it's going to obviously have different stories in it. It's a 40-page first issue. Yeah.
Do we have creative team for the first issue or no?
First issue is a story by writer John Arcudi and artist Ryan Sook. So there you go. Yeah. Also, writer AJ Mendez Brooks. Oh wait, yeah, AJ AJ Lee.
Hey,
do you know what I read?
You got my attention.
I read that name and it took me a second to click.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, my nerdy mind. Former favorite wrestler, former favorite lady wrestler. Of course, it rang a bell. That's cool.
Yeah. So she's working with artist Ming Doyle on a story as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Ming Doyle worked with Punk on something over at Marvel because Punk had done a story in Thor, in one of the Thor specials. That was pretty good. That might have been a different artist though. I'm not. Don't quote me on that, listeners.
And then the third team for the first issue is Nadia Shames and artist Morgan Beam. So those are your teams.
Well, I was already excited for this, but I never clicked on it. I just saw, oh, cool. They're doing a...
Yeah, at this point, there's such a known quantity because we've, black and white established the format, and then, Superman and Harley kind of continued it. And
yeah. So now, AJ is doing a story. And, of course I'm going to pick it up now. There was as if I wasn't.
There was just a weird sort of moment where my brain just, took in what I just read. I was like, AJ Mendez Brooks, because I think in my head I went, oh, I don't know who that is, and I went, well, wait, actually no, I do know who that is.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you know her as AJ Lee forever.
I think it's more just because she's not a comic writer. So in my head I'm thinking, oh wait, that doesn't ring any comic book names or bells. I'm not thinking of anyone, and I was like, oh wait, no, I don't know who that is. She's just not associated with comics.
Does it have her listed as April Mendez Brooks, or does it? It had it listed as...
No, it's just AJ. I sort of leaned in to check that it was AJ though, because the J is unnaturally close to the A, so it looked kind of like it might be Al rather than AJ. But yeah,
there you go.
There you go. That's cool. Well, that's cheered Matt. That's made Matt's day.
That did. I mean, I already was gonna check it out, right? But that definitely drove it home.
I wasn't sure you would like her that much. I thought you might be jealous that she gets to sleep with CM Punk every night.
No. It's jealous both sides.
Because you like to snuggle with CM Punk is the implication I'm trying to make.
Yeah. They're the more Punk gets away from wrestling, the less he's. I still appreciate everything he's done, right? But other people pop up. So he's still great though. Him having hot takes on Twitter and whatnot, and him announcing last week that he's not the big signing because he's going to be watching the Blackhawks game that Sunday. That just cracked me up. Yeah.
Well, we have another special coming in June. This is the DC Pride special. There's another 80-page book with various creators, LBG2, LGBT. That's a sequel. That's a sequel to LGBTQ creators. Anthology stories. We got a Batwoman story by James Tynion IV and Trung Lee Win. We got Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn by Mariko Tamaki and Amy Reeder. Midnighter by Steve Orlando and Stephen Byrne. So, and obviously Orlando's been heavily attached to that character for forever.
Yes. It's almost Orlando's character.
Yeah.
Now.
Flash Earth 11 by Danny Lore and Lisa Sterl. Green Lantern, which is Alan Scott for the record, which it makes sense.
Yes.
And Obsidian. I mentioned and Obsidian by Sam Johns and Klaus Janson. Aqualad by Andrew Wheeler and Luciano Vecchio. Apologies if I'm butchering these names. I'm doing my best. Dreamer by Nicole Maines and Rachel Stott, and that's notable because Nicole Maines is the actor who plays Dreamer on Supergirl. So that's neat. Renee Montoya by Vita Alea and Skylar Partridge, and Pied Piper by Sina Grace, Rostein, and Ted Brandt. So that is your list of stories and creators for the one shot. And they went along with this announcement to also mention that Crush and Lobo are getting a new book as well. So,
which we kind of already knew that, right? That was in the 10 that were announced.
Yeah, we knew that, but I think this is the first time since that a list. I mean, that was official because it was their list. It wasn't like it leaked, but
no, I know, but this has an actual like listing of it. You know what I mean? Like with this, so
yes.
But yeah, I mean, we didn't know anything about this special, so you know, that's pretty cool that they're doing this. A lot of good creative teams, a lot of fun characters. That should get the spotlight.
Yeah.
Like Pied Piper. I haven't read a Pied Piper story in it's been a while, right? Because Pied Piper didn't even really show up in Williamson's Flash.
I just think the last. I mean, he popped up in an issue of Flash that I did for previously this week, but obviously that's an old Mark Waid issue. There's going to be a foreword by Mark and Draco, who also worked on Love Is Love, which was the other Pride. That wasn't just a DC thing. That was kind of a more industry-wide thing.
It was it was one of those specials where they pulled the companies pulled together to do.
Yeah, it was after the mass shooting. That was to So, so nice callback to that. They're also doing a bunch of Pride variants because obviously during they're celebrating Pride, so they've got like Batman 109's got a Jen Bartel cover, Crush and Lobo issue 1's got a Yoshi Yoshitani cover, and there's a whole other list. I won't read them all, but there's a bunch of variants coming as well. So yeah,
cool.
So that is a thing. There's one of the covers. Harley Quinn 4's got a Harley and Ivy covers. There's an image of it. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yep. Yeah. We'll talk about that in the Gotham. Because I have some feelings.
Okay, I'm sure you do have feelings. Next up, so this one was exciting for me because obviously we were mostly really big fans of the Hill House part of Black Label. And we don't have a Hill House book, but we have something that feels akin to it because we have a new horror book coming from Black Label from James Tynion IV with Alvaro Martinez, who of course worked with Tynion on a lot of his detective and so on. So this is called The Nice House on the Lake, and the cover is delightful. It's like a head coming up through water, but there's skeletons all around the waters.
It's very poltergeist.
Yes. Really, really cool stuff. So this is a 6-issue miniseries, Black Label book. I'm excited for these Black Label books in some ways because it is nice to have like DC stuff that isn't just the DC characters. It's nice to just sort of do some more kind of interesting original stories here. So yeah, it all begins with a nice house on the lake. Everyone who was invited to the house knows Walter. Well, they know him a little anyway. Some met him in childhood, some met him months ago, and Walter's always been a little off. But after the hardest year of their lives, nobody was going to turn down Walter's invitation to an astonishingly beautiful house in the woods overlooking the enormous Sylvan Lake. It's beautiful, it's opulent, it's private. So a week of putting up with Walter's weird little schemes and nicknames in exchange for the vacation of a lifetime? Why not? All of them were at the moment in their lives where they could feel themselves pulling away from their other friends. Wouldn't a chance to reconnect be nice? Wouldn't an escape from the horrors of everyday lives be idyllic? Would you accept this invitation from one of your oldest friends? And that's the description. That's the sort of the teaser text for the first issue.
Mind you, I haven't seen What About Bob since, probably it came out. This sounds like a horror version of that.
Oh, actually,
this is a person you don't want to be around.
I just want to correct myself. It's not a 6-issue, it's a 12-issue miniseries. Apologies.
Ooh. Look at that. Double.
Yeah, that's in June 1st. Obviously, we've been pretty big fans of Tynion for the most part in this show. So
yeah. Well, he's had Something's Killing the Children. That it's a book I want to get into, but I've already made promises to other people to read other books first. Hence why I bought Once and Future this week and had to order These Savage Shores because my shop didn't have it in. So, but Something Killing the Children might be after that. I finished Fatale, by the way, which I don't know if you've read all of Pete, but I think you might dig parts of it.
I read the first few issues, and I kind of had a hard time remembering anything from previous issues.
Yeah, it gets towards the fourth and fifth. It kind of rounds more into the horror side of things. So, but yeah, this sounds interesting. Like, I don't know exactly what to expect, but again, I was getting from that description kind of like What About Bob, but if it was a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a 12-issue mini horror series, Tyrion the Fourth, Alvaro Martinez, and I should also mention Jordi Belair's name's on that cover as well. I presume doing colors.
Coloring.
Which is not a bad thing to hear, quite frankly.
No.
So
Not at all.
very, very cool. So that's the nice house on the lake, to be specific.